Hello folks, I am back with a firearms review, and this is going to be on the Sig Sauer MCX Spear LT in 11.5 inches. You don't usually see this particular one because this is in the color black. Most of the Spear LTs are in the goldish or FDE color. And to get a few things out of the way, I just want YouTube to know that all my videos are for adults only. And also, if you need to have anything that you would like as far as belts or accessories, check out Core Essentials on their website and use my discount code KEANON10. That's KEANON and the number 10 all together. And if you need optic plates, go to the website of Calculated Kinetics. They have a variety of accessories, and not only for optic plates, but check them out. You can use my discount code of KG2024. So yesterday I did a video. It was called "What Do You Do If You Have a P320?" And I want to thank everybody for their response to that video. It was greatly appreciated. I just finished answering all my responses. That's what I try to do. I answer all the responses, and it was over 50 messages, so I answered them all. And I want to thank everybody for their opinions and what they think about the situation. I also want to thank Big Johnson Guns and Gears for defending me, and I appreciate it. So you need to check out Big Johnson Guns and Gears, his channel, and definitely go on his Wednesday night chats. That's usually on 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So check him out. So let's get something straight. I know a lot of people want to poo-poo this video automatically. You got to understand, I put this firearm on layaway to pick up for my birthday, which passed in May. So I'm just getting around to do it. I had other obligations, so I'm finally getting this firearm. I am a fan of the MCX line of firearms. I have another one, and I do understand people are not happy with Sig Sauer these days, but you have to understand there are some things that they do right, and then we know about the other things that happen. So I don't want this video to be about what happened with the P320. I just want to let that subject go. And if you have any comments about that, comment it on my other previous video that I put out. So let's get with the Spear LT. The Spear LT is, this particular one is going to be 11.5 inches. Now, I'm going to go tip the butt of the things that I like and don't like about this. And this is my honest opinion. As you see here, I have the CZ Brand 2 pistol, and this is in, I believe, 8-inch barrel length for comparison. And my trusty Daniel Defense V7P. And I'm going to do some comparisons and show you some shortcomings on this particular firearm as well. Let's start from tip the butt, as they would say. So let's start with the flash hider. This flash hider is not really what you call a real flash hider from what you see by industry standards. Most flash hiders, like the Surefires, they stick out a little farther, and this really is not the greatest of flash hiders, but it is workable. I had no problems with it, especially when I did some training. I took a couple days to shoot this. The one day I did only, believe it or not, 40 rounds. But I was in a training session with my coworker, Patrice, and she did a qualification drill with me on this, and with a couple other employees where I work. And the qualification is to become an instructor for AR-15s. So I decided to run this in the drill. But to get back to the point I'm making here with this flash hider, I did get some flash, and it did distort a little bit of my view because guess what? We turn the lights off. And when we turn the lights off to do the qual, we have like strobe lights that resemble police cars. So it did flash a bit, but not too bad. But we did shoot this in what we call a night qual. So if you look at this flash hider here, one of the big negatives I have with this is it is rock set it on. I understand Sig wants to promote their suppressor line, and I want to tell you folks, I'm going to sucker in. And the reason why I'm going to sucker in is there have been horror stories of people damaging their barrels and when they try to take the flash hider off. I want to save myself the aggravation. I did want to use another suppressor, but I'm going to save myself the aggravation and get a Sig SLX suppressor. And that's how Sig gets you. So that's what I'm going to do at this point. To just get one of their suppressors, because this is a bear to get off from my understanding. You have a 2-position slot because this firearm is basically made to be shot suppressed. You see what they have are 2 suppressor modes. This is more in your adverse conditions, and here's your part where you flip over if you want to use this in put a suppressor on and change your actually the way your suppressor will shoot. The other thing is, let's start with the rail here. The rail is pretty decent. They slimmed it down from my original MCX, which was the Rattler. They slimmed it down. And as you see, there's the positive and negative to identify where you can change your setting. So for your suppressor, if you want to do that, because this is built for a suppressor. But this is your rail. Your rail is slimmed a little bit more down. Added I believe this is the Magpul foregrip, so I could have a grip. Here's where the other negative comes in. This is a Magpul item 2. This is for a sling, and I use the Blue Force Gear slings. And the problem I have with this is, guess what? There was no attachment for a sling, so I had to buy the Magpul one and install this on, because unlike my previous MCX, there was no attachment for the sling to catch in at all. So you had this piece, you put that in, and you take it off if you want to take that out. So that was one of the negatives. They should have had a spot where you can have your sling attachment here. However, they do have it in the rear, as you see right here. So one of the other features on here, I'm going to, as you see here, this is going to be my Romeo 5 red dot. Just to mention, I mentioned before when I was shooting this, it kind of like blurred this out. I probably had this setting up too high, but I'm going to probably get the Sig Sauer 8T to replace that. There is a new version of the 8T out, but I will not be getting that one because I want the older version, because the newer version is made for night vision, and I won't have a use for night vision. One of the other things I put on here is the Magpul MBus Pros. Those are the backup sights. You should have a backup sight because electronics do fail or the batteries will die. Moving right along, we're going to talk about this here. I'm going to switch this around. The controls on here are ambidextrous. You know your safety is here. You have your toggle for your bolt release here, which a lot of people know about, which is pretty much standard. And this right here is an additional magazine release. So if you're left-handed, this is the perfect firearm for it. You just press that and it'll make the magazine drop out. Now, a lot of times when people put items on there on the firearms for left-handed people, it's usually an afterthought, but Sig really paid attention, and this was pretty much well thought out. Another part that's ambidextrous on here, I'm going to switch this around. Another part is, this is your standard mag release, but your bolt catch right here. Now, you know you can lock the bolt with your paddle release here, right there. And you can also release the, release the bolt by pressing your bolt release here. But it is also here. So this bolt release here, if you want to use your finger, you can press that down to release the bolt. You can also lock your bolt by using your trigger finger to push this up. So I am going to show you one of the things that I made a mistake with. If I could stop the camera from wiggling. Stand by a moment. Okay, I'm back with that. I had to pull the, I'm using the camera one hand. Sorry for all the movement. But however, when you see the dust cover is out, so like I said, I was doing the drills. And when I was doing my drills, I was trying to, now I only have 40 rounds on this firearm before I did this, this qualification and to put this under real testing. So my problem was when I had my finger, I was touching the dust cover and misguiding the dust cover for that. So my finger was long enough that I hit the dust cover instead of hitting the bolt release. Now, I'm not saying that's a flaw. I'm going to say that's lack of training. I only did 40 rounds with that. That is my fault for lack of training. So Patrice was saying, what are you doing that for? Why are you using this finger? You shot an AR before. Why didn't you use your normal thumb that you would use on your support hand? And that's where I made my mistake right there. Not enough training. But on the positive side is that a lot of times when you can be in a situation where you have a malfunction, or whatever the case may be, you can keep your shooting hand, in my case, I'm right-handed, you can keep it on here and hold on to it, clear out a malfunction without taking your primary hand off the grip or where the trigger area is. And you can handle those malfunctions by using your to extract whatever malfunction it is. You can do that without taking your hand off of here. You can also bolt lock without taking your hand off of your grip. So that's a big advantage of it. If you ever saw Grand Thumb's video, he explains that to the T, and he gets a real good, get you to understand how to do that. So I suggest you check out that video, since I can't do it right now with my hand, with one hand using the camera. So that is a good function to have when you want to do that with the bolt release. Another reason why I like this bolt release here is when you're looking at the Bren 2, the bolt release and bolt catch, mind you that there is your standard paddle right here. You have your standard paddle here, but the problem you can have is you can use this as a bolt release as well. But we all say that you should not have your finger in the trigger guard, which can cause some safety issues and safety concerns. So you really want to have have a bolt release that's out of the way of the trigger guard. So though this is a good firearm, I've used this bolt release, but it's not the safest way to use this bolt release or to lock the bolt back with your finger in the trigger guard. So kudos to Sig for making that design. One of the other things is this is ambidextrous safety here. I would prefer the safety like it is on the Bren 2, where it's at a 45-degree angle and you're able to use that properly. And going back a little further, let me see if I missed anything, is your brace here. Now they improved the brace somewhat. People complained about how hard the brace were to use on the MPXs and the Rattlers as well. They just made it so you can press the button and fold this over, which makes a lot of sense. And it makes it a lot easier than to try to pull up and force it and then fold it. But there is still Sig's problem with their brace. This is what Calian Noir calls the flag brace. And the problem with this is I'm used to this style brace. I'm used to it because I had to have it on my MPX and my Rattler. But what I really need to do is replace this with a S&B tactical brace where it does have that length, but the brace doesn't move like that. It doesn't move, especially if you momentarily shoulder it. You won't have it flopping around or falling apart like that. So that is an advantage to have that SB tactical brace. I will be ordering that to replace this brace as well as to replace the brace on my MCX Rattler. So as you see here, I went from tip to butt. You want to know how it shoots? It shoots fantastic. It shoots very well, especially when I was doing different drills and transitions that I was doing. And it shoots very well. And one of the guys on, I believe it was Calian Noir, explained as it cycles back. He compared it with a 9mm and a 45, where with the 45, with a 9mm, it's a little bit snappier. With the 45, it's like a dull thud. So this is what this is similar to the 45, where it has the dull thud. It's not going to beat your shoulder up or anything like that. It's very, very comfortable when you shoot it. And like I said, I shot this. I did very well shooting it. I just want to get some more trigger time on it. And speaking of the trigger, this is a 2-stage trigger, but it doesn't feel like a 2-stage trigger. This trigger, when you fire, it resets very short, very quick. And it kind of reminds me of the short reset trigger on a P226. But now it is a bit kind of on the heavy-ish side, but that trigger, you won't even notice it with each pull. As you pull it, it discharges that round, you reset it, and it resets quickly. You don't have to go too far. Again, I wish I had a better situation where I could had a steady camera to show you what I was talking about. So that is one of the pluses on this firearm. One of the negatives I forgot to mention when it comes to this style of firearm, if you were to put anything on this front area here, you're adding weight. So the balance will get off angle. It would pretty much, because there's nothing back here to even it out. If you leave this minimalist like I have it here, it's going to be fine. But once you start adding a suppressor or adding a light or anything else, your balance is going to be off. Right now, the balance is fine, but I really want to set this up like my V7P here. I want to put another light on here, get a different optic, and to prove about the balance is when I'm talking about the balance from the Spear LT. This rear portion right here is where your buffer tube is, and this is a braced firearm. However, the buffer tube is adding weight to give it a little bit more stability, so it's not so front heavy. So that could be a disadvantage for this, because the more junk you put on here, you could put lasers, lights, etc. Just remember, the weight's going to get a little bit heavier in the front unless you get some type of brace that may have a buffer tube that will make it a little bit more heavier in the rear. The whole point of me liking this style brace is I want to be able to fold it and have it a little bit more compact. And I'm like I said, I'm going to get a different brace for that. But that's the reason why I want to do that. And this is also an outstanding suppressor host. So, and with this, as you see here, with this one is also a piston type driven firearm, but this has a actual buffer tube attached to it, but it does keep the balance of this very, very well. So there's no front heaviness about this. So I'm going to cut this video short. I think I talked long enough, and I just want to thank you guys for your support. With that said, happy shooting, stay safe, #2A.